Hello, everyone. Look who's here. Loretta Walsh is here. Flo is here. She's in the house.
Hi.
I am so happy that you were able to carve out some time so that we can chat and talk and get to know a little bit more about your career, not just Florence, who we love.
Mhm.
And I was doing my little research and I found out some really interesting things. So I can't wait for you to share with us.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you for having me, Roxanne. It's so nice to meet you.
I'm glad that you're here. I really am. I've been waiting. I've been waiting to meet you and have you on. We've been requested. We have quite a few people that are very much in love with, like they call it the flow mo, like you
Yeah.
and Molly as your characters, and then of course as actresses or actors, as we want to say. But tell us just a little bit about where you're from, because we hear that.
Oh, yes. I'm originally from Australia. I'm originally from Queensland, Australia, from a very small town, middle of nowhere place. And and I was just lucky enough to recently go back there after 3 years of not being able to see my family. So that's where I'm from. But I have been living in Canada for over 20 years now
Oh wow,
because my
wow.
husband is Canadian and I met him in Sydney, Australia, and we fell in love. And then I ended up moving to North America, and Canada has been a very kind place to me, and I love living here. But I sure miss Australia, and
I know you.
yeah,
Yeah, you
I'm
have to go.
happy to go back there.
I'm a teacher too, and I was just talking to my
Mm.
students about that. Like it blew their mind that in when it's Christmas time for Australia, the weather is the total opposite of what we're used to here in New Jersey.
Mhm.
And when they were getting to explore a little bit, they're like, "Oh, I want to take a trip to Australia." So they started to really get fascinated
Right.
and enjoy it. And we were looking at just bodies of water, different kinds of animal life, and they're like, "What? What's there?" Like it blew
Mhm.
their minds because we're not far from the Atlantic Ocean. I said it's very different in
Yeah.
Australia, right? So it is beautiful, and I can imagine that must be why not just your family, but the whole beauty of it is.
Yes, it is a stunningly beautiful place.
Yes.
You know, yeah, and it's my home. So I always say the light is different there, the air is different. Like it's
Yeah.
just there's that comfort and that familiarity. So it was a very big relief
Good.
to be
Now
able
you're
to
rest.
see
You're
family.
Now, so you said it was small. I'm thinking, what kind of opportunities are there for you to get like the acting bug? Like, how did that happen?
Well, I started doing ballet. I
Oh,
remember being a young child, and my grandmother took me to the ballet, and I was like, "That, I wanna do that." You know, I was probably 3 or 4 years old at the time. And
mhm.
so when I was a little bit older, I started taking ballet classes and then, was dancing. And then one of the teachers at my elementary school, we call it primary school in
Right.
Australia, said to my mom, "Listen, the local, theater society is doing a production of Oliver. They're looking for kids who can dance. Maybe Loretta wants to audition to do that." And so I did that, and then I loved it. Yeah, I was a very kind of shy, introverted kind of kid, and my mother always tells me as soon as I got on a stage, something just happened. And so I was able to sort of feel really quite at home performing. And so that's how it began. And then I ended up doing The Sound of Music, and I ended up taking, drama in school. And so then when it was time for me to sort of decide what am I going to do, that's really what I wanted to do. So I auditioned for a theater school, for an acting school, and got in, and my journey began.
So I even think if I saw correctly, someone was giving you a shout out on Instagram saying, thank you for your help or your coaching or something. So do you coach other actors?
Yes,
Something that, yes, go
yeah,
ahead.
I do. I do teach. I teach out of a studio in Vancouver called Haven Studio,
Yes.
and actually, a couple of the people who are on When Calls the Heart have been through that studio. Eva Bourne,
Yes.
She is a past student, and Amanda Wong, who's new to When Calls the Heart this season, she also has taken classes. She took a class with me. I think maybe it was the first acting class she had taken, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yes, so a few years ago now. But yeah, so I teach adults acting. I love the craft of acting, and to share it with other people and to help them along, in their journey. Teachers have been transformative in my life and have helped me so much, that it feels great to offer, what I can and support other people to be able to really, learn everything that they can learn, and really reach the potential of what it is that they want to do within that art.
Which is nice because you're out there, you have a beautiful role in When Calls the Heart, so
Mhm.
they know that you know what you're talking about, and I thought it was so nice. No, really, because sometimes people say, "Oh, those teach," because 'cause I'm a teacher, you teach because like, if you teach some kind of art or you teach some kind of craft or something, it's because, you didn't make it, but that's not true at all, and
That's
then
not true at
no,
all.
no, and they get
In
to see how
fact, it's,
successful.
it's a smaller group of people who
Mhm,
can actually teach.
mhm.
Just, and also just because you have, a career as an artist doesn't mean that you can necessarily translate that and teach other
True.
people to do it. So I think that teachers are incredible people. I think that they have a real gift. I have teachers in my life and in my family, and education is just so important for everybody. So yeah, I think that's a falsity for sure.
All right, so now I'm thinking, okay, so we have Loretta, the actor,
Mhm.
Loretta, the teacher, and then somewhere in between all that, I saw recently you were nominated for a Leo Award, right?
Yes, yes.
Can you share because not everyone knows what a Leo Award is. Can you explain what it is?
Sure. So the Leo Awards are the British Columbian Film and Television Awards for our local community here.
Okay.
So for filmmakers, for directors, for cinematographers and actors and everybody in between. There's so many people who have to come together to be able to make a movie or make a TV show. I think sometimes the actors get so many of the accolades and so much of the focus, and it's like if you turn that camera around, you would see
Oh,
so
wow.
many other people, and everybody is important. If somebody doesn't do their job, something bad will happen,
Right,
right? So
right.
everybody really counts. Everybody really matters on those in those jobs. And so, yes, I did a movie which was called Picture Perfect Wedding,
Mhm.
which is a romantic comedy, and I got to play the bad guy in that movie.
So your hair all slicked back and you were riding in the limo or something,
Yeah,
right? Right, yeah.
she was a pretty ambitious and didn't have much of a sense of humor kind of character who really wanted to be the best at what it was that she was
Mhm.
doing in her life. And yes, and so I was so honored to be nominated. That was a surprise. I didn't know, and then I had people texting me being like, congratulations, and I was like, thank you for what? So I didn't win, but one of my friends did win, Alison Araya, for a movie
Yes.
we had done, so very well deserved. But yes, that was a lovely surprise.
Now where, I'm sure we can somehow get our hands on the movie. Do you know, where it would be? Like, is it on Amazon Prime, Netflix, a certain channel, or you're not sure?
It played here in Canada on City TV.
Okay,
And so sometimes that means it will end up in the US
yeah,
somewhere.
okay,
Whenever I hear about things that are shot locally and then air locally, I will always post,
okay,
on Instagram or Twitter or what have you, just to say, oh, hey, if you're in the US and you want to catch this, then this is where you can.
okay.
Yeah, so stand by. I haven't heard any more, but that doesn't mean anything because
Right, right.
sometimes we're the last ones to find out. We're like,
Right.
oh, this is happening tomorrow. Oh,
I
great.
know. I
Yeah,
I forget, I don't even know who it was, and I was telling them, and they're like, "What?" And I was telling them, like, they didn't realize it was out either, which I thought was
yeah,
kinda funny, yeah.
yeah.
Now, you said, that you had a love for the theater, and
Mhm.
it sounds like it was from when you were younger. Do you have, like, a favorite role that you've ever played?
Oh man, I cannot choose, and I think sometimes my favorite role is the one that I'm currently working on. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Because I'm like become very focused on what it is that I'm doing. But I between doing plays and between also taking acting classes and doing very long scenes from plays, there's been so many different parts that I have fallen in love with. And yeah, yeah, usually whatever I'm working on at the time. But I love American classic plays. You know, I
Okay.
love Tennessee Williams. I love Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and
Oh,
Streetcar Named Desire. And,
yes.
I love those beautiful, beautiful plays, which are really epic plays. And then I
Yeah.
also love really contemporary plays, about
Oh,
how we're living right now, like
yeah.
what's happening right now. And so it's very interesting to sort of see as I continue in my career how things change on stage. It used to be that if there was a cell phone on a stage, it was like, oh no, that's going to be so distracting. And now it's like if you're doing a modern play and people don't have technology, it's weird.
Right, 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 right.
That's not going to be very reflective of what's happening
That's it.
in life now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I mean, that's cool. They want to keep up with the times just like everything else. And then that's neat that you're able to see how it's changed through the years and then still appreciate all of it, like I mean,
Absolutely.
there's like the play Our Town where there's just a chair. Do you know what I mean? And there's still such gorgeous beauty in it.
That's
So,
right.
I can see that about you, like in your personality and what little, other interviews that I've watched and just when you were even just recently when you were singing and dancing with Ned as Ned and Flo, that was so cute. I was like, "Oh, okay." Oh, sorry, my Alexa
That's
just went off.
okay. That's okay.
I can see how you have that theater love in you. It just
Yes, yes, and I know Rothgar and I were like, okay, I guess after 8 seasons they make you sing and dance. What are they going to do to us
I
next?
don't know.
But no, we had a great time.
I'm sure you did. And someone I think did that was written, I think, right? The song John
Yeah,
Tinker said he wrote all of that. Okay, it wasn't, but you made it seem like because I was thinking, wait a minute, are these words to something I don't know about, a play somewhere? And then he in an interview said he wrote it,
yeah.
which I thought was really cute because I thought it was clever. And I'm like, oh, how do you make that match up? That's funny.
He is a very talented man. He is very, very good with words.
He is. He's like amazing. He's a genius. He really and he's so when he talks to you, simple and casual and an everyday guy. And I'm thinking, there's a genius right in front of you, you know?
And he's always looking for opportunities. We
Mhm.
didn't have him on set when we were shooting season 9, but the season before we did. And so you could sort of see, that he would talk to people, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden maybe that something they had mentioned ends up in a script, like
Mhm.
he's
Listen.
very, very creative.
Yes, he
Yes, and a
listens.
real blessing.
That's nice. So, okay, so now here we are. We're in When Calls the Heart. Oh my goodness. And you have been from the very beginning. I
Mhm.
can still see you standing in the middle of the town as Florence and,
Yeah.
as Erin's coming in as Elizabeth and you've paid for her. All the moms have gotten together to pay the widows. That season, because I've been a Hardy from day one, that season was amazing. There were times where I would be crying. I'd be like, "Oh my goodness," it was so good. And you've been there from day one
I
to
know.
this day. I love it.
I'm so, so blessed. And if you had told me at the beginning, first of all, the journey that Florence was going to go on and how much she was going to change,
Yes.
and develop, I would have
Mhm.
been like, really, I would have been blown away. And if you had told me would do 9 seasons, I think I would have fallen over. I mean, honestly, it's been an incredible blessing in my life and in so many other people's lives. And so, yeah, what a treat. What a treat.
And so Florence, okay, I wanted to ask you these questions. So in the very beginning, your set wasn't where the set that you're using now. It was someplace different, wasn't it? Like this, go ahead.
No, so it wasn't the same location,
Oh, okay.
but they built the mine a little bit further away.
Got you.
And then I know that some of the stuff in Hamilton, which is
Mhm.
really, I mean, really interesting. They did shoot in downtown Vancouver and also
Oh,
locations in Vancouver.
mhm.
Um, and then I think they also transformed some of the sets in
Okay.
Jamestown where we shoot now, to look like Hamilton as well. But no, we've always been at that location, and it's wonderful. Rothgar and I are always like, we know exactly where we're going. We know where we're parking.
Yes.
We know how long it's going to take us to get there.
Yeah.
There's something very comforting about always being in the same place.
Like you're going back, I think even Chris in an interview recently, and it's not the first time I've heard someone besides Chris say it, that it's like going back to school.
That's
It's like
right.
you really return. I think John Tinker was saying that. People were saying you go back to school, you see your friends, oh, we're back together. You know, like when your
Uh,
summer break is over and then you're back and you know exactly what is what and you catch up kind of thing, which
yeah,
is nice. But
it's so
this
great.
I'm thinking the set itself, that makes it so easy for you to really feel the part. Like Hope Valley really is real, you know? And the sets have changed like over the years, haven't
Oh
they?
yes, they have.
Yes. Yes.
They have. Every season they get a little bit different, or they get a touch up or a little redecoration, and then there's new sets as
Right.
well
Right.
that are being made. So it's always exciting to see. And walking into the Mercantile, I'm always like, oh, it's home sweet home.
Now you
It's
have
lovely.
the ice cream
Yes,
parlor.
yes.
It's gorgeous. I love it. I think it's beautiful, and Sarah does a great job with putting all the little doodads and whatever else in it to make it look real to you. So you're spending an awful lot of time in the ice cream shop and still in the Mercantile, right?
Yeah,
As
I mean, I think that really sort of, I mean, I do have a couple of scenes in the ice cream shop this season, but
yes.
the majority of my stuff is in the Mercantile and around the town.
Yes.
Flo is very much, she knows what's going on. she, she wants to know what's happening
He
with everything
does.
at all times.
Yes.
Um, so I think sort of the idea is that Ned and Florence kind of float a little bit between those two places.
Mhm.
But we have May and Robert in the ice cream shop and the pharmacy, and they are a big part of running the everyday
Yeah.
of that business as well. Which is why it's really important to the Yosts to sort of find out what is May, who is May.
Yes.
Well, it's a little bit discombobulating to be like,
Mhm.
whoa, 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 hang on a second. You're not exactly who you said you were, and now we need to run a business. And not
Mhm.
only that, we have a reputation, within Hope Valley that we would want to uphold, the highest levels of etiquette and being very proper
Right, right.
within the town, because we're sort of known characters and known leaders,
Right.
within Hope Valley.
And relying on you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Mhm.
There's a reason why, Florence and Ned were the ones to count the ballots, for the new mayor, right? They're
Yeah.
trusted. They're trusted, responsible members, of the community. And so, yes, it will be very interesting to see how everything unfolds.
It's such a mystery this year.
Hmm.
So we're running into episode 5, and it really is. It's just a mystery, and every time we watch another nugget is unraveled or given to us, and I'm like, "Okay, let's see if we can put all these pieces together." I'm enjoying it. I really am enjoying it. And I have to tell you, I love that even though, Florence has Ned now, she still has
Hmm.
time for Molly. I love the 2 of you.
Always.
You two
Yeah.
have come a long, long way together,
Mhm.
from your as characters, but I know as friends too, but as characters, like, trying to hold your family together and your husband's dying to then now actually being, big parts in the community. And I was wondering, like, does that friendship carry over into real life between you and Joe?
It sure does. I met Johanna filming When Calls the Heart. So
Okay.
from the very beginning of When Calls the Heart, that's how we met. And when you do a show with somebody, especially for this many years, we get to spend a lot of time together.
Sure.
So we've been through moving houses, and for me having a child, and for her child moving away and going to university and then graduating university and then moving back. And so we really, and she is very, very supportive, of me,
Mhm.
and um, will come and see me in plays, and when I'm very supportive of her, because she's a dear friend. And so we're so lucky. We're so lucky. So we've been through a lot of life things together while we've been shooting this series. And I'm very, very grateful for our friendship.
I love it because it carries over into Florence and Molly. I love that, and we
Yeah.
can see it. It was really sweet, like, when it was you getting married, and she's like, "I know my friend, I know what she would want," and helping her with, you get the dress and just the whole experience. It was nice for us to see, especially those of us that have been watching since the very beginning.
Yeah.
Um, I had one of my family members, say to me, "I have to start watching because this is all you talk about." So she went and binge watched from the beginning to
Oh, I'm so jealous. Like,
yes,
when
I
someone's like, "Oh, I just discovered it." I'm like, "You have so much to watch. You don't have to wait for anything. Just keep going."
and so she's like, "Oh, I get it." And she and of course you stand out to her. Your relationship with Molly, just even that you've been on all this time. And Florence is really important. Florence has that gossipy type of a personality. I get it,
Mhm.
which I thought was hilarious that you had to answer the phones for people. I love that. Right,
It's
right.
a perfect job for her. It's a perfect job because she does. And what, I don't think that she gossips from a place of being mean. And she
No.
certainly has had to learn her lessons about that. It's gotten her into trouble in the past.
Yes.
And so, that was one of the first things that I really kind of discovered about Florence, is that,
Mhm.
oh, she's very imperfect and she has to learn things. She has to make mistakes and she has to learn. So, yeah, but I think I think, of course, she's curious, but I think she genuinely cares about people. And I think she genuinely wants to help people. I think it's also, of the time, gossip really sort of served a purpose, which was we're trying to uphold a certain standard of civility.
Yes.
We're trying to uphold a certain level of respectability.
Mhm.
And so I think, especially for her and Ned,
Mhm.
that's something that they're very much like, well, how does that look?
Mhm.
And would other people disapprove of that behavior during this time?
Right, right, that makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, but getting back to Molly, I do have to say, and I've talked about this many times in interviews before, but what attracted me so much to When Calls the Heart, and I was very lucky to get this part because
Mhm.
we're not all just sort of sitting around going, "Let me call Michael Landon Jr. and tell him I'm interested." It's like, no, you have to audition,
Mhm.
and then, like, there's a lot of wonderful people and very talented people who are auditioning to get these parts.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful. But the big thing that really hooked me about it
Mhm.
was the women and their relationships with each other, and the sisterhood that the women of Hope Valley have with each other.
Yes.
That is what got me so excited about being on this show,
Right.
because I just think that women's friendships, our friendships with each other,
Yes.
really, and as adults, those women or men, but really that sisterhood,
Yes.
become your chosen family members.
And it's true. I love that you're saying that because and it has not changed. That has been a common thread through every season of how the women come together. They're there for each other, whether it be in duos like you and Molly, or
Mhm.
now it's well, you know what I'm saying. I do know you're a human. Or it's Pascal and Erin's parts.
Yeah.
And I love it when you're all together, like when Elizabeth was afraid to say that she needed help getting her baby's room together, and then you all came, who was papering the walls, who even after little Jack was born, you all were taking a turn. I love that. I
Yeah.
mean,
We all need each other, and I think there's
yes,
something to be celebrated. And I think it's sort of a very old idea of women sort of being in competition with one another, and I
right,
and I
right,
don't and I don't think that that's completely gone. But what I love about this show is that these women really lift each other up.
yes,
They really do. It's very genuine, and it's very rare to see jealousy, or I don't think I've ever seen a woman put down another woman on this show. And so, I mean, I know that Florence can get very judgmental and very suspicious, especially of new people coming into
yes,
that
yes,
world. Um, but once she's a friend for life.
yes,
There's really a sense of loyalty and generosity,
yes.
between the women on this show, and I love that. I think that's a tremendous example for
Mhm.
everybody, and it's also very familiar to go, oh yeah, I have that girlfriend, I have that one who's my kid
Right.
spirit,
Yeah.
who's my bestie, or I have three who are like that, who are just my community, and they mean everything to me. So to celebrate that and really talk about that and shine a
Mhm.
spotlight on that has been a really wonderful and satisfying part of being in the show.
I think it's what the magic is behind it. That's why people get so excited to watch it and see it, and what's happening, and how they all are interconnected. One has a story that goes with another. Do you have a favorite Florence story? Do you have like over all the years? Is there
Yeah,
something that stands out for
yeah.
you?
I have a couple. I have a couple,
Mhm.
and and I listen. I love it when Florence, gets to be funny and be all uptight about provocative music, and inappropriate sandwiches,
Yes.
and
Yes.
inappropriate mustard, and all of that kind of stuff is so funny. The writers give me the most delicious things to say sometimes.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But my favorite parts have been when Florence has really worn her heart on her sleeve. So
Oh.
when she got the letter, when she discovered the letter from her late husband, and that
Mhm.
really touched
Mm.
her. The scene between Molly and Florence before Florence's wedding,
Yes.
that is really the cherry on top of the whipped cream, on top of the
Mhm.
ice cream, on top
Oh.
of the cake. Like I loved that scene. And Johanna and I, we could barely contain ourselves when we were
Oh.
doing that scene. We would
Oh.
just, the first take of it, we were just like, that is outrage. We couldn't stop crying. And then Siobhan Devine,
Uh-huh.
wonderful friend and director,
Mhm.
cut. You cannot cry like that. And I said, I know, I'm gonna pull it together. I it just means
Mhm.
everything, Gemma. And so we pulled it together and we were able to do it. But those moments are really very, very special to me.
Mhm.
And I love that they are captured, on
I
film.
know, and now we
We
get
we can enjoy forever.
I know, I love it. I have some fun scenes. Well, there's one of the scenes that's fun is when Florence is a little bit too gabby, and she thinks that there's, food poisoning at the cafe, and then there's food
Oh, yeah.
poisoning at the saloon. And
Yeah.
so Bill and Lucas get together and they decide to have a barbecue for the whole town, and
Yeah.
you have to help out. And you have to like go and pass out
Yeah.
all of the flyers. But do you know what I love about it? So it's a small little scene at that time. It's a good one, and they built up to it. And you have like very few words, but here's what makes it so fabulous: the facial expressions and your gestures. Like,
Uh-huh.
even if it's for all of 2 minutes, it says like a million words, and you're really good at that. I love it. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, Florence has to learn a lesson. But, you know, like in her defense, right? She
Mhm.
was worried. She was worried
Yes.
about people in town getting sick. She doesn't want anybody sick. She doesn't want Ned sick. I mean, this is terrible. Yes, she's making some assumptions. And,
Yes.
yeah, listen, she has to learn.
I love it because you could go right in and out of your accents. I love it. You
Yeah.
become Florence so easily.
I've been here for such a long time, and, you know, people always sort of say to me, I don't like, you sometimes you sound Canadian and then sometimes you sound really Australian, like, what's going on? And honestly, when I first moved to Toronto over 20 years ago, I sounded very Australian and I had to repeat myself all the time because people couldn't understand me. And
Aw.
so in my laziness, I just decided to say it the North American way so then I
Mhm.
wouldn't have to say, you know, like, this is water, but nobody would understand me. So I would have to say it's water. So I just kind of learned, and then
Mhm.
yes, you know, as much as I would love to play an Australian on TV here, I hope that that's in my future somewhere. I often have to, you know, be Canadian or be American, right? Which is also very, very beautiful accent.
Yeah, that's fine. I love it. I mean, it's like so cool because it's like a great talent that you could just slip in and out like that. It's fantastic. I love it. Thank you for it. So I have another scene that I personally love, and well, there's two. One is the one with Fiona, and you're in the in your we will always be connected because you really thought that you two were going to be separating
Yeah.
and you wouldn't see each other. And that actually made me cry. Sometimes when I talk about it, even when I went to go back and rewatch it, it touched my heart so much because it was so cute. Because you were there helping each other out, and you had like a moment, like you two were teary eyed. And I was asking Kayla about it. She's like, it really was a real moment. Like behind the scenes, it was a moment.
Yeah, it was. I think that, you know, Fiona and Florence have a very special connection. And
Hmm.
I can't speak to, you know, Kayla would be able to talk about where
Right,
she's coming from
right, right.
with Fiona, but I know with Florence, that was really the first time that anybody sort of saw potential in her
Yes,
in a different way.
yes,
Not in a way of you're a member of the community or you're a mom or you're going to help this person out, but really just as her own potential. And
yes.
so I think that was very powerful because she gave Florence a chance to do something that she'd never done before. And of course, she made mistakes and she felt really vulnerable about that. But for her to take a chance, you know, on Flo is something that I think will just forever bond them.
Right. And I love that
Yeah,
because
yeah, and even though Florence is kinda older than
yes,
Fiona, you know, it's so interesting that the younger one of the group is of that pair is often the one who is the helper or the advisor or the
mhm,
counselor, the one who's able to sort of help, you know, the older one who still has things to learn. So
that's true.
I love that scene, and yeah, and Kayla and I were again just like
I
we
know.
have to pull it back.
I love it. That was
It's too much.
I know, but it's still whatever carried over makes it beautiful. It's like memorable. I'm also thinking about, oh my goodness, it's another Fiona and I was going to say Loretta, Fiona, Flo, and Elizabeth scene when
Mhm,
you're in there looking at yourself and you just want to
mhm,
be special and different for your wedding day.
mhm,
I'm
mhm.
like, and what Florence was saying about herself, and I was like, oh, that's a beautiful message for everybody who was watching.
That's right. Yeah,
I
she's
thought,
been really hard on herself, and I think, you know,
yes,
I think and I think just, you know, when she lost her first husband, there was just sort of a little light that went off for
yeah.
Florence, and I think that she hadn't been, you know, really, seen
Mhm.
the as the beautiful woman, you know,
Right,
that
right.
she is. And so I think she was really sort of saying this, she was trying to figure out, what is this about? Do I want to look beautiful for Ned? Sure, but I think it was actually about something deeper.
Yeah.
And that is about not criticizing herself
Yes.
and really stepping into allowing herself to shine and have that light and be beautiful and full of love and joy and all of it, um, and not shy away from that.
Right. Like embrace it. The dress that you finally did wear, I forgot to even ask this because I talked to Barbara. Did you always, or we did talk a little bit about it. Did you always know that was going to be your wedding dress?
Mhm,
You
mhm.
always knew. Okay.
So when Molly buys it early in
Yes.
the season,
Mhm.
Peter DeLuise said to me, which I knew, but he said to me, "Listen, you gotta love this dress because this is what you're gonna get married in." So it was important that Florence
Yeah.
really be taken with it and just,
Right, right.
lift her friend up, being like, "Oh my goodness, you're beautiful, and this dress is just mwah, gorgeous." So yes, and what an act of love and generosity from Molly to say, "That's okay. You can cut this dress up and change it for my friend. I know
Right,
that it won't be the same, and I know that it won't be for me anymore.
right.
I know how much it will mean to her, and so I gift her that." And so
The whole thing was gorgeous.
beautiful.
I know the whole message. I'm like, "Ah," they always have such the writers are amazing. They truly are. They are amazing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so excited to watch this little show. It's really not a little show. Every Sunday and I'm thinking, "Wait a minute. We're coming up to episode 5. I'm excited, but I'm not. It's going too fast. I need
Mhm,
it to slow
mhm.
down." And I'm glad that we have 12 now instead of 10.
Yeah.
I'm loving that, and I just wish it could be even longer, but okay, I'm gonna take it.
I know. I know. Listen, me too. I would love that. Give
I'm
us
sure.
20 episodes. That'd be great.
I know.
Yes, I know. I know. And just getting back to the writers for a second,
Mhm,
I can imagine how much of a challenge it is to think
mhm.
about, well, what are we going to do with this character now that we've never done before in 8 seasons? And then they're constantly coming up with new things, new dynamics, new problems to solve, new ways of really sharing all of the messages that One Calls to Hide are about, which is about hope and love and community and falling down and having other people help you get back up again.
It's
Right.
true. I mean,
And
and
so,
never losing who you are either, like, never transforming the character so much that we don't, like, recognize them anymore. I
yes,
I
yeah.
have to tell you something I think is funny, and it just popped into my head before we have all these wonderful questions
Oh
people
goodness.
are
Oh
asking.
boy.
Yeah, and they're showing you some love too. I love one of my favorite scenes this so far in this season is Florence looking out for Nathan when you look and she looks over and she sees him looking, at well, it's not Amanda, it's,
Yes, me
Maso,
too.
and your heart has been flouted, and he
Yes,
leaves and he says, "And my heart is not flouted."
yes. You don't have
It
to have
hurt.
them. Yes. I know. So funny.
I know.
And so, like, I know sometimes I think about poor Nathan. Like, Florence always is like it's a little bit of a bee buzzing around
Uh-huh.
him. "Excuse me, constable." Like, in season 8, she just constantly interrupted
I
him.
know, I know.
Was always going, "I need help over here." Like, always was the one when he was about to have a moment.
Mhm.
And then, yes, very funny that she's like, "Well, let me give you some advice. Take it from a newlywed. Take it from somebody who's loved and lost before. Don't
Oh, yeah.
rush."
He couldn't wait to get out of there in all of Nathan fashion. He was like, "I need to get out the door."
But then also so funny that last episode when he sets up dinner with May, he says to Ned, "Don't tell Florence about this."
Yeah. And he's got the eyes going. He's like, "Okay, Ned's all right."
Yeah,
Ned's
right.
he's a good sport. I
Ned
love
knows
it.
better. He would be coming home and going, "Guess what I heard and saw." They'd be having a good gossip together.
I know it. Oh, goodness. So, are you on there always live tweeting when you can?
When I can, I missed a little bit of the first few episodes because I was in the Southern Hemisphere. I was in
That's all
Australia,
right.
and so I was unable to make the timing work all the time. But I do try. I do try to be online on Sunday nights because it's so fun to share it with
Mm,
everybody and share behind the scenes things. And I think that all of us can agree that the community of Hearties is really why we make this show and why the show has been so
yeah.
incredibly successful. And so, it is a way of almost collaborating with you guys and also celebrating you and saying thank you for supporting this. Like, I think we're all very grateful to be a part of it.
That's nice to say. We feel it. Everybody feels it. I think that's what makes it, like you said, even more fun. This, before we do look at the questions, you may not even be able to address this at all.
Uh-huh.
Joe did a tiny, tiny bit. We saw in some like promos coming up, you know how they do spoilers and whatnot. There's going to be an important scene, and I've been waiting for this for a long time between you, well, not you, between Molly and Florence and Gowan, the three of you. Something big is coming up.
Yeah.
And we can all kind of guess it because we see a slap of the face. But we're trying to, in our brains, we had talked about it a little bit, like it's going to have to do with the whole storyline of Henry, trying to figure out how to forgive himself and finally the whole truth coming out and all coming together. And I think it's interesting because Henry never really had a conversation with your character or Joe's character about it. They've never really written that in. So
No.
yeah, go ahead.
And yeah, and listen, I think that Florence has a somewhat complicated relationship with Henry. And I think that, at first she really just thought he was the bad guy and he was
Yes.
the cause of so much of her and many other people in this town,
Mhm.
their pain.
Yeah.
And then, things have changed. Things have changed over time.
Mhm.
Henry is also, first of all, Martin Cummins is an incredible actor. And I
Oh, yeah.
love working with him. He's so free and so good, at what he does. So what I can say is, things have sort of eased over the seasons. There's been forgiveness, there's been moving on, and then, Henry being Ned's best man at the wedding, it's like there's more of a personal connection
Mhm.
started with between those characters. So yeah, so I can't say too much, but as you know, there will be some conflict
Mhm.
coming up. And we will have more answers about that conflict, and we will be in a different evolution of it by the end of the season.
Oh,
But yes, there's stuff coming. There's
yeah.
stuff coming.
All right.
Florence started the season very happy.
Yes.
Happy, singing and dancing and happy and in love with Ned, and they're having a good time. It's so wonderful to see those characters who have been through
Mhm.
dark times happy, right?
Mhm.
And but there are some obstacles and some things coming up, and that's going to bring up some things for Florence that I think she probably hasn't felt or thought about in a long time, and she's going to have to find a way to deal with those things.
Okay. That's something to look forward to. It's all
Yeah.
juicy. It's all
Yes.
juicy. I can't
Yes,
wait.
it is.
All right, so I am going to show you some
Mhm.
things that different people are you can control it too, but this is
Oh,
Alice,
oh,
and Alice is saying, "Gosh, you're so pretty."
thank you, Alice. I'm sure you are so pretty too.
Deborah says, "I was so impressed with your singing and dancing
Oh,
this season. Did you approach writers about the scene, or did they already know of your talents?" Yeah, that's a good question.
goodness, and I'm not a singer at all, and neither is Rothgar. And we're like, oh my god, Jack Wagner's been on Broadway. He's a Broadway singer. Pascal is an incredible singer.
Yes,
You're an
yes,
incredible singer. Kayla, oh my goodness. Kevin McGarry,
yes.
incredible singer. We're like, so they're gonna choose the non-singers to do the singing and the dancing. Now I have done a little bit of dance, yeah, in the past, as you know, and
Mhm.
Rothgar and we choreographed that little piece together. He came over to my house and I was like, okay, Rothgar, let's put this together. And so so we made that up ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it all worked out, which was good. But I think we sort of had the philosophy that there's so many things that could go wrong on the day
Yeah.
between music and singing and dancing and banners and all of this stuff. Let's try to not be the problem. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I think we were a bit nervous about it, but we were like, okay,
But it
let's
was all right because even if you
go.
were, it kind of was like you were for real. Like he was like looking at you and you're trying to help him put I love it. It was great. It was like such a cute way to open up the soda shop. Lillian says, I'm planning a visit to Australia to visit a friend in Sydney, hopefully later this year. So she's showing your country some love.
Oh, Lillian, you'll love it. You'll love it. It's a beautiful place.
We kind of answered
Oh,
this. They wanted to know about you switching your accent. So you did it.
sometimes it is, and if I'm really tired, you know, like occasionally
Mhm.
it'll pop out and I'll be like, oh, I'm tired, when I'm at work. So I do have to think about it just sometimes. And also I just got back from Australia last
Mhm.
week. So my Australian accent, like I saw a friend and she was like, oh, you sound very, very Aussie right now because I've been surrounded by it.
Right.
Um, Sometimes it is. Sometimes I really have to think about it, and then other times it's like just putting on a nice, comfy pair of slippers. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I know. And then occasionally I'll be like, how do you say that word in an American accent?
Really? Because I wouldn't think it would be that difficult because it's like English, but not. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I get it though. There are certain little things
yeah.
that have to be
Every now
tricky.
and again, every now and again something pops up.
And it's always something silly too, like when you're making reference to like food items, sometimes like sprinkles, jimmies, hundreds of thousands or
Yeah.
something, along those little lines.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. Now, I'm just wondering when you go when you go back to see your family, do they feel like your accent is changed, like or you're all in?
Yes, they do. They do, and very much with I have a young child. I have a daughter,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
she has a little bit of a mishmash. She kind of has this Canadian accent, but then
Uh-huh.
every now and again, she'll she'll have like an Australian word. And she also loves the TV show Bluey,
Uh-huh.
and I love that show too. And it's set in
Yeah.
Australia, so she gets a little bit of influence from there as well. But yeah, sometimes people will be like, "Wow, that sounds very Canadian."
You can't help it, and it's all good. Everything
Can't
is
help it. I can't help it.
Martha says one of my favorite scenes is when Laura had your coat and
Mm.
Bill found the hair and they oh, do you mean the letter? She found what's the hair? You think it's a typo?
Yeah, no, there was a red hair on
That's
on the
right.
coat, and so Laura took it to Bill and said,
Yes.
"Let's investigate. Let's find out
Yeah.
who this belongs to."
Yes.
Yeah.
And then in the end, and you know what? I was a little surprised that it was for you. I
Mm.
wasn't thinking that that would happen. I liked it. It was a good surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
She's
was
just
a beautiful storyline
it
and a
was.
beautiful scene.
Was it Christmas time? Was it a Christmas one?
I don't think it was Christmas.
No?
No,
Okay.
no, I think that was like maybe in season 6.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, yeah, that was a beautiful scene. I remember telling my husband about it, and I again couldn't stop crying. I was like, "The letter is from her husband." I'm like, because what a wonderful reminder,
Mm.
right? It was
Yeah.
a reminder that you are loved, and I think that my feeling about Florence has always been that the reason why she in earlier seasons was so cranky and so judgmental and pretty
Mhm.
harsh is because she was in so much pain.
Yes. I
And,
agree.
and I think, there's that saying, right? Hurt
Mhm.
people hurt people.
Mhm.
I don't really know if that's true, but I just think that that's kind of where she was coming from, is that she went to a very angry place, of being just really just tough. and
Right.
in order to not fall apart.
Right, and that's what kept her together,
Yeah.
and I think what you're saying is true as a viewer, that's what I see, and I love otherwise, if not, you just be a mean person, but she's not,
She's
she
got a
she's
good
not.
heart,
No,
She
we
makes
love her.
mistakes, but she's got a really good heart,
Yeah,
and she's friends with everybody,
yes,
and they sort of know, "Oh, Florence,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
your most
mhm,
from town, you better not tell her about it."
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's been so lovely over the seasons to sort of peel back the onion, as they
mhm,
say, and go, "Oh, wow, she can be funny, and she can also be really soft and
yeah.
really vulnerable, and really go get them. We're gonna fix the situation." And so there's many different facets to her. So it's been so cool and so interesting for me to be able to be a part of that.
Mm. And Alice says, "How wonderful for your nomination."
Oh, thank you, Alice.
Um, how do you transform into Florence? Like, you're perfect for that role. Like, what do you do? Do you do anything mentally when it's time to get started?
Well, it depends on what the scene is. But a big part of Florence is that corset. Is because, like, I wear a corset, right? And so
Oh,
when I put
okay.
that corset on, you know, sometimes it's an obstacle because I'm like, "Oh, I'm wearing this corset and it's uncomfortable today."
Mhm.
Or, "Oh, I have a really emotional scene. I'm feeling really constricted." But sometimes it does a lot of the work for me, right? Because it kind of just whoop,
I
opens.
didn't even
Oh, yeah,
real
there she is.
I didn't even realize, like, doesn't it hurt after a while? Does it get tiring being
This
in the
one
corset?
this one is really, it's made for me,
Right.
and it has really sort of sculpted and molded to my body, over
Okay.
the years. It's only when it's long days, if we're
Yeah.
moving into hour 13, 14, and then I'm like, now I'm feeling it. Now I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'd like to take this off.
Yeah. Get
You
out of
know, or if I have a really big lunch. I I need to let this thing out a little bit.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Deborah says, "Love the arc for Florence. You have portrayed her beautifully. We are so grateful to have you. She's
Oh,
showing you some love."
thank you, Deborah. Thank you. You have to know I feel very grateful. I feel very, very grateful. Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure if you can answer this, and we'll put it up. And if you can't, you just say no. Will Flo's children make an appearance in season 9? Will we see like Robert or your daughters or no?
Where I don't know that I can answer that.
Got you. That's perfectly fine.
Oh, sorry, Joanne.
No, it's all right. We're going to see. You don't want to reveal everything. This is why we have to watch. Janice said, "How did you get into When Calls the Heart? Had
Mhm.
you heard about something, or did your agent tell you she had something you might be interested in?"
Well, I got the call. I was on vacation in Ontario with my husband and his family, and
Mhm.
so how it works is, your agent or your manager will call you and say, "Hey, I got you an audition for this show. What do you think?" So I got the call, and like it's very difficult to describe, but my intuition was
Mhm.
telling me that I should get on a plane and I should go back to Vancouver and I should meet Michael Landon Jr. Something intuitively was just telling
Oh,
me to go. And so I went to my husband. I said, "I'm so sorry, but I think I have to leave." And he was like, "Go." And his family were amazing. They were like, "Go, please."
oh,
Oh my gosh. And so I think because I knew Michael was going to be there, and because I had really had it in my mind that I wanted to do a show about female friendships,
mhm.
and when I looked at that script, it was all about, those widows going into
Sure.
line together, and having to try and put their lives back together and support their kids and get through it together.
Right.
And so, could we really fit the bill? I was like, this is what I'm looking for, I think. And I auditioned for a different part. I auditioned for the role of Marta Crocker.
Mhm.
And then from there, they called me and said, actually, we would like you to read for Florence.
Mm.
So then I went back in again and worked with Michael, who was just the most extraordinarily collaborative and supportive director. He really is,
Nice.
he was really wonderful to work with.
Mm.
And so I just loved him.
And then
And
the
then
star is born.
yeah, and so it was really exciting. And my dearest friend Jill Morrison, who we've been close for a long time, probably 17, 18 years now.
Oh, wow.
And so it was our dream to be in a show together, and she ended up being cast as Carla Noonan. And so we were like, because we were going to get to do it together.
Yeah.
So that was so fun. That was so fun.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
What tidbits can you share about Mesu? Florence was not happy at first. You shared a little bit already.
Yeah. What can I share about her? I don't know what I can share.
Nothing.
I don't know what I can share because I don't want to have any spoilers. Just hang in there.
Yes.
Hang in there. It's a good story. It's a good story. And we're gonna find out
more
what's going on there. I think for Florence and Ned right now, where they're at in the story, they're kind of going, okay.
Like
we don't really have another choice right now. So we have to see how this is going to unfold. Seems to be going pretty well. We're not entirely sure what the whole story is, but for a couple of different reasons. First of all, we need to give her a chance.
Yes.
Second of all, we don't really know what the full story is. And thirdly, we don't really have another choice. And we certainly don't want to be the ones to sound the alarm going, there's something weird going on. Because it makes us look kind of
right. So you're being
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't share too much, but it's good.
All right. We're excited. A little bit we've learned, like she's already at this point, had that conversation with Bill that she was going to need his help. And he started asking her questions and she started to tell, and then they cut away from that. Then she goes out on her really date. Well, that's like somehow the Hope Valley way, I guess. Not date, really date, to say thank you with Nathan's thanking her and Ned's giving her the eye and Bill's giving the eye, So yeah. And somehow Florence hasn't seen that yet. She didn't see them having dinner. I don't know how you missed it. It's not like there's 42 restaurants in Hope Valley. You must have been busy.
I know. Yeah, somehow she missed that, but she would have heard about it. She will find out.
You're going to find out. You will. You are.
Yeah.
This is true. They were talking about the sets and how things have changed over time. And Janice is making an observation. She thinks the streets, the real actual streets there have improved. They were muddy, but now there is shale or something on them. Is that true? Have they added some stuff?
It's true. I think that they added like gravel.
Okay.
You can hear crunch, crunch, crunch as people are walking down it. But yes, things have changed, certainly When Calls the Heart has evolved so much. Season 1, it was very, the look of the show was very muted and very real and very sort of low lighting and things like that. And so it has really evolved, but there is so much thought and detail that goes into all of those decisions. So I don't get to make those decisions, but I do get to show up and go, oh, this is different. Cool.
I don't know. We're loving it. We love all of it. Joanne is just saying Flo hitched her star to the right wagon. Ned, the inventor of the Band-Aid and the crossword puzzle, is just so cute.
He's an inventor. I love that he's an inventor. It's like
a dreamer. She says.
Who didn't know that about him? Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, maybe love has made him sort of more creative.
Maybe you're bringing it out.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the interconnected word puzzle, just rolls off the tongue, right?
No. Flo and Ned's first kiss was such a great scene. It really was. That was, I loved it. It was good. You two did it. Yeah. And I love his face where he's like, and then he walks out the wrong door.
So funny, right?
And then you laugh, it was just
Yeah,
cute.
they're like kids. They're like,
It is. It's sweet, and I love it. So
yeah.
our time together is coming to an end.
Wow.
Before it does, this one is just the another comment, and
Mm.
then we'll have to say goodbye.
Oh my goodness, it's been
Like
so fun.
it went like this.
I know.
The
Mhm.
ugly duckling comment with Fiona and Elizabeth in the salon right before her wedding. Very tearful seeing yourself through your love's eyes. Oh, yeah, like you were saying, yeah.
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 Yeah, I think that, I think Florence had shelved the idea that she was going to be a bride ever again,
I
after
know.
losing Paul. I think that, that grief is so deep.
Mhm.
And so, for her, I think that finding love again was a wonderful surprise that she never anticipated. I think she probably thought, well, I will dedicate myself to my kids. I will dedicate myself to this community. I will help people. I will dedicate my life to doing that. And so, yeah, I think that she never really allowed herself to feel beautiful. And
Mm.
so this was her discovery of going, I'm stepping into a whole new frontier here for me, and this is a big part of my journey, and I guess healing for her, finding love again. I'm going to let myself shine. I'm going to let myself do it. I'm going to let myself feel
Yeah.
loved and feel beautiful and feel confident, and I hope that that message resonates for our viewers, who will also let themselves shine and be
Yeah.
the fabulous, wonderful people that they are.
Yeah. I know it was a really good message. What a good note to end on. Loretta, thank you for this. This
My
was really fun.
pleasure. It was so nice to meet you, and thank you all for joining in. And I really hope that you enjoy the rest of season 9. I will say that there is lots still to come. So
Good.
buckle in and enjoy.
All right, let's say good night or goodbye, good afternoon, whatever time zone we're in.
Thank you so much, everybody.
You are welcome. Thank you. All right, everyone, we'll talk later.
Bye.